Good afternoon and welcome, everybody. This would be the Jeff Cameron Show right here on 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV. Not live today, but close enough. Within a couple of hours, we're all good. As always. By the way, look at this shirt. You see this shirt? It's old school logo. You know where I got that? I got it at Garnet Gold, and they have the one over there by campus, Pensacola Street location. When you do that, you go in the vault, Tom, I think it's called.
That's called right.
The vault. And you find all the kick-ass stuff from yesteryear, or at least the logos from yesteryear, their new stuff. And you go to town. And when you do so as a member of warchant.com, you get huge benefits. It's greatly reduced pricing. How about that for an intro to a show? Yeah, that's right. You're saving money and you're getting Florida State gear. The season is nearly upon us. You got to gear up. Can't be out here half-stepping. Go over to Garnet and Gold, get you some new shirts, some old logo, whatever it is you want. What is it, 25% off on certain days and 10% off if you're a Warchant subscriber? Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's 10% all the time, forever, if you subscribe to warchant.com. But then every month we have a Warchant Day where there'll be specific parts of Garnet and Gold's inventory. So, for example, last month it was the vault. This month, who knows? It could be a coach's polo. It could be something different. But always big savings, and that's where the membership itself is just $10 a month, folks. It's nothing. So you go to Garnet and Gold twice. Maybe you do your Christmas shopping at the Garnet and Gold with the Warchant membership. You're coming out ahead, and you get inside information for the best season that we've seen in a long time. I'm already going to call it that. This is very impressive where the Noles up there in Charlotte. I think they're ready to go.
It's good to be back in Tallahassee. We've been some traveling Jessies, and today's show is in Tallahassee. It's from my living room. Well, it's actually not a living room. My living room's over there, but it's adjacent to. And the good thing is it's good to be back in Tallahassee because start next week, Tom, we're going to be at practices and luncheons and the like. The launching of the season is underway, and it's hard to believe, but that's why you go out there to Charlotte. That's why you do all the things you do beforehand. You get geared up. You get the interviews. You talk to the players and coaches. You get a feel for the league. Speaking of the league, I was laughing yesterday. Well-timed piece, David Hale. I quote, as Colorado becomes the latest domino to fall college football realignment, ACC Commissioner Jim Phillips said the league continues to actively consider adding teams, but has not found enough value in any expansion option. Phillips told ESPN on Thursday that he's closely monitoring the Pac-12 and their issues in landing a TV deal, routinely examining how realignment can shift the ACC's position in the Power Five financial hierarchy. In fact, the quote reads like this: the ACC has been and remains highly engaged in looking at anything that makes us better and stronger. We've spent considerable time on expansion to see if there is anything that fits. We have a tremendous group of institutions, but if there was something that made us better, we would absolutely be open to it. I'll tell you to make you better. If you could go grab Ohio State, maybe go grab Michigan and Texas. Oh, they're taken. All right, maybe go grab, I don't know, an SEC school. See if you can grab Alabama. Jim, that'll make you better. Let's be open to all possibilities of expansion. What? They're not open to your requests, your flirtations? They don't want to come to the ACC? Well, why is that? Why don't they want to come to the ACC? Why are the remaining schools flocking to the Big 12? We are sitting on our hands, and it is a conference that is dead in the water.
Yeah, and that's something that, I mean, look, I enjoy the demise of the ACC. I enjoy Florida State's eventual exit from the ACC. These are things that I take pride in because, as you know, perhaps annoyingly so, as far back as 10 years ago, I have been decrying how this is just not a great setup for us. And we were not in a position to do much about it in those days. We are in a better position to do more about it now. There are still legal hurdles to climb, but it's this calendar year, 2023, we've had lots of discussions over the last 4 or 5 months about Florida State being in an untenable spot. And what's the difference? If the worst case scenario is that you're going to lose a lot of money, which it is, Would you rather lose a lot of money while you're paying off the ACC and the SEC, or do you just want to stand pat and let this thing bleed dry till 2036? And that's the choice that Florida State is facing right now. But the options may get better as time goes along. And certainly the buyout, the settlement figure with the ACC gets cheaper by the minute. Every minute that goes by, it gets $10,000 cheaper. I haven't done the math on it, but it gets cheaper by 5 and 6 figures by the day or the week for FSU to pay off the ACC to be done with this conference. And we're going to be out of here sooner than later because we aren't waiting until 2036 to become a free agent again. We would be in Division II at that point if that were the case.
Yeah, basically, and I was obviously being facetious and having fun at Jim Phillips' expense. Realistically, if somebody's listening to this, say, wait a minute, Jeff, you're just being silly. Of course I am. The options for the ACC are, target would be like West Virginia, or they could go out west and try to get some Pac-12 teams that are getting plucked right now by the Big Ten and the Big 12 and see if you could get an Oregon or a Washington. Some folks have floated that the ACC would be wise to grab an SMU. I don't know what that does for you. It doesn't sound like any of this is going to help bridge the gap, and that's the biggest thing. Like, you could grab those teams. Let's just say, for argument's sake, you grabbed Arizona State and Washington. Is that going to do much for you in bridging the massive gap between what the SEC and the Big Ten are making and what you're making? I don't think so. I don't think it would be an appreciable gain there. They're almost correct in stating that they're going to sit pat and continue to analyze. The problem is they don't really have options. They don't really have another avenue to change their fortunes.
What about Notre Dame?
I think that was dead and buried. Maybe that was the story. The two stories to come out of the ACC kickoff, from my vantage point, was that the commissioner had nothing new to offer. Again, probably no fault of his own, although I don't like projecting weakness the way that he consistently does. Doubles down on the weakness, if you will. Seems to point it out and highlight it as often as he possibly can, that there are no options and that we're screwed, but we should embrace them and celebrate them as if that's a good thing. And then secondly, the other story was, without question, in my mind, Jordan Travis being a superstar at the ACC kickoff. I think people from all over this conference loved what they heard from Jordan Travis. He was calm, collected. He was confident. He was not arrogant, but he certainly was not waffling about his role as a superstar on this team. He didn't deflect in any way. He was kind. He was really insightful. I hope you guys enjoyed the Jordan Travis interview. I think we're going to play it again today in the second hour of the show as I have a doctor's appointment. But listen, I think that was the secondary story. But Notre Dame not coming to this conference seems to be wrapped up. The commissioner all but told you, yeah, they ain't coming.
No, it's the faraway look in somebody's eyes when they're at the bar at 3:30 on a Wednesday and they say, and then she left me. And then they take a pull of whatever they drink they have in their hand. That's the energy that is, no, they were very blunt. In fact, they value their independence. And that's why though, hey, hang in there. Yeah. The CW, everybody. Do we have the CEO of the CW here? Or is he here?
No, not here.
Raise your hand. Come on, hand up.
Not here. Didn't make it.
Oh,
I probably should have known that he was not here prior to referencing that he stand and be recognized, because now, once again, I'm projecting weakness, and that would never happen at the SEC kickoff. They would not celebrate their media partner without the knowledge that they were there in attendance. So, yeah, that's a toughie.
Yeah, how did he get Nigel Powers at his own thing? Hey, stand up, Dad, take a bow. Yeah. And the seat's empty, and everybody laughs at him. Like, how did you get Nigel Powers? Come on, man.
It's par for the course. Honestly, it is. But listen, I would rather focus on a couple of things here. One that happened yesterday. If you want a glimpse of how desperate the fan base is to get out of the ACC, all you need is yesterday. And you had ample evidence prior to that, but you were reminded of it yesterday because our friend Chris Nee, who works on the beat here for another network, but a good friend of ours and a good guy, he wrote an article in which he said that, now he's open to the idea. He does believe that Florida State is actively pursuing an exit from the ACC. Now, even Chris would tell you that's really not news. He brought it up because he hadn't entertained the idea seriously until recently. Perhaps new information came to light for him the point is, I think most people, and there's evidence of it, believed that FSU was trying to get out of the ACC, and there was a clarion call on YouTube, for Christ's sake. So they had already made the announcement, in essence, that they were actively trying to get out.
Yeah, and again, when the Board of Trustees hearing happens and they choose to go back and forth in a scripted fashion, Michael Alford and Peter Collins, and they also scoff at the idea of the exit fee being so small. I mean, these things all stand to reason, and we all felt that pinch last year. We all felt that pinch a couple of years ago. And Michael Alford, if nothing else, is a mover and shaker. We've seen that with some of the decisions he's made with the coaching staff here at Florida State under his purview as athletic director. Yeah, I mean, Nee and us go way back. He's actually one of the first guys that said hello to me and treated me with respect. It was Ira, then Nee, because I was at AJ's on a Friday, and he's like, "Hey, man, tell me your story," and that's cool. Today, I would tell him too, "Welcome to the club, man. We've been here for a long time. I'm glad that they're finally on board with us, thinking that this is something that Florida State is trying to do." Like, yeah, that's right. We've been trying to do this for a long time. The question is the legalities, the maneuverings, and how much, or actually, let me phrase it better. How little do we have to pay to make this thing happen? That's been the goal. That's been the rub.
I would say that I don't want to hyper focus on that article. I want to focus on the larger point. To me, you bring that up because now you think in earnest that there's a path, or you've been told that there's something that is tangible. Like, I don't think he wanted to bring anything up until he heard from somebody that they are taking steps, as opposed to just, in theory, we'd like to get out. I mean,
we know that they are, like, yeah.
Well, yeah. But we didn't know that they had an avenue and a plan. This to me sounds like he thinks there's a plan in place.
Yeah.
But no, but it's not that, Tom, because I don't think they had a plan. I think they wanted out, and they wanted the world to know. I don't think they had a plan.
You don't think like scripting something to go down at a board meeting is not an indicator of a greater plan at play?
No, I think it's a greater desire. I don't think it's a plan. And that's where I believe is the difference. Was I was thinking, okay, good, you've made it known. What that does, in my opinion, is open the door to offers. They wanted everybody to know publicly, like potential suitors, as in the SEC and the Big Ten, hey, if you can help out here, we'd like to know, is there a landing spot for us?
Yeah.
Because that's what I think. I don't think they had a plan.
That's it. Okay. Well, we agree to disagree on that one. I think you don't make that obvious to the world without having conversations before, and not just with your own circle of friends. Like, I don't think you take that step as the catalyst to getting a burner phone or having a clandestine meeting.
I believe, yeah.
Yeah.
I believe that they had cursory discussions regarding potential. All of this, by the way, gets you sued, so they cannot admit to any of this.
Correct.
So the bottom line is, it's all cloak and we know now where they are. This is back alley, burner phones. This is like you can't be on the record. Nobody involved in any of this, whether it's the Big Ten or the SEC or Michael Alford, can be caught up in something tangible that can be traced. Like, so. Because none of them want to get sued.
Well,
and let's say the SEC really wants Florida State, and there's no evidence that they do or don't. We don't know. But that can't be traced back, because you're going to get sued, and nobody wants that.
No, 100%. Like, look, to me, they decided long before that meeting that they're going to leave. It's just a matter of how little money are they on the hook for. And to me, again, that was why the Texas-Oklahoma thing was so huge. It sets a ceiling on the price. So that price might have been out of reach at the moment that Texas and Oklahoma get out of the Big 12 and agree to go to the SEC a little bit earlier. Might have been too expensive, but it sets a floor when you go term remaining on the ACC deal, $50 million a year. Okay, is that too much for us right now? Absolutely. Would the ACC take less if we gave them a lump sum settlement because they know we're not going to renew the deal? Maybe. Okay, now we're starting to get those goalposts to, depending upon how you look at it, either shrink or widen for us to be able to kick the ball through it and finish the job. And at that point, now you're moving in the right direction. And the question is, who can you lobby to make your life a little bit easier? And it could be member institutions of the ACC in order to get enough votes to dissolve the damn thing, which is where the Magnificent Seven thing came from. Or it could be the networks themselves. And there is no doubt that, independent of who believes finally that the Florida State is actually committed to leaving, that when Colorado leaves the Pac-12, that's one small domino. If you can get more Pac-12 teams to defect in Arizona or Arizona State, certainly Oregon or Washington, that indicates that the Big Ten is ready to make another giant shift.
We think.
And the more the Big Ten, well, I mean, if the Pac-12 is going to dissolve, you need more than Colorado to leave. Like, Colorado is one small part. They think they can replace Colorado. But if you get Arizona or Arizona State to leave behind them, that tells me that it's only a matter of time before Oregon and Washington decide to either try to for the Big Ten or go to the Big 12. And the more stuff that happens around the SEC, the more urgent the SEC will feel, more urgency they will feel to come poach a program like us.
This is what we're hoping. This is what we think is likely, but I don't know that. And so what I would tell you is that some people are of the mindset that the Big Ten, once they got LA, once they grabbed Los Angeles, felt very comfortable standing pat. They feel good. They don't want to continue to split the money. They've got everything they need for a massive television contract. Their member institutions are all set. They feel like they're number one in this battle, and they don't have to worry about. Now, because we're not naive and power continues to pursue more power, we tend to think that they're not done.
Yeah.
And we need them not to be done. But if they are standing pat, the SEC could say, we're bringing in Texas and Oklahoma. What does Florida State bring us? We already have the market. We already have a brand that's massive there. What do we need them for? Well, we think that the only reason they would choose to act is if they think the Big Ten is going to grab us and Clemson or something like that. But there are Big Ten people who will tell you, no, we don't think the Big Ten would ask Florida State and Clemson to come. They cite the AAU stuff and all the other, the academic stuff and all that. I agree, Tom. But I'm telling you, there are people who say that the Big Ten may not be willing to continue to expand.
Yeah.
Now, the hope is that is false. It's certainly not going to expand this year. So we're about to embark on a season where nothing's going to happen. And we think August 15th is a key date.
Yeah.
And that is another part of this conversation. Does Florida State tell the ACC of their intention to leave? Well, they would have to do it by August 15th. And if they do it, that's the indicator that they have a landing spot. If they don't have a for sure landing spot, they're not going to do that.
Yeah, I guess my whole point would be, if you're Florida State, the worst case scenario is in a year or two, because nobody can move to Florida State, Clemson, and make it all happen and get them out of the ACC. That's when you go to the settlement plan. Is it what you want? No. But you're going to get tied up in litigation for the GOR. You've got a price point of what the outer limit is, and you probably at that point at 2025 or 2026 can afford it against future earnings, just like Texas and Oklahoma could. Is it a lot of money? Yeah. But if you think about it from the earnings that you would gain in a new landing spot as a free agent, because we can agree here that if Florida State is a free agent, that the Big Ten and the SEC are most certainly both calling Florida State and making an offer. Would you agree with that? If there's no grant of rights, it would stand to reason that Florida State is a valuable enough entity.
I think they are. Listen, if the SEC and the Big Ten are planning on further expansion, 100% Florida State is a valuable asset. If they're not planning to expand any further, we have a problem. That's what I'm getting at. We have a problem. Where are you going if you tell the ACC I'm out?
Well, if you're a free agent, they'd be foolish not to add you. Like, the brand is too powerful for you to just say no to the opportunity, even if you don't plan on expanding. If Florida State was a free agent, if Jim Phillips is indicted tomorrow and the member institutions all vote and say, you know what, F this, Louisville and Pitt and Virginia Tech are like, let's just go to the Big 12. And there are these other schools that are saying, yeah, we'll find a home. And there are no litigation issues for Florida State. Yeah, man, even if their plan isn't to expand, who would say no to that?
I think it would be wise. You're right. And I do think there are some logistical problems with the Big Ten, let's say, having a conference that features teams from one coast to the other. I still wonder how you're going to do that. I mean, yeah. Florida State's not flying to Los Angeles and then back over to here and then turning around and facing Penn State and then turning around and facing UCLA and then it's a weird setup there, I think. But they'd have to work it out. I don't know what they would do. It'd be regional, whatever they would probably do. I mean, if they're going to do it, Tom, they're going to have to continue to expand like multiple teams in the South. So you can have not maybe a division,
Yeah. I think, well, this is, do you believe that they're competing with each other, the SEC and the Big Ten? I think they are. I think the arms race continues. You want to solidify, because you're not just competing on the football field, you're competing with advertisers. Like, you want to make sure you're front facing. That's a big part of the Big Ten's deal, was to get a primetime game on NBC. That was the next wave of this deal. So you always want to be front and center because it's more lucrative for potential advertisers. So what would give the Big Ten a leg up on the SEC? Well, getting into the damn footprint. And for the SEC, it's not like you're bringing in, I don't know, Wake Forest. Florida State's going to generate a freaking ton of traffic for you.
They are. Again, back when we used to have the market, but I understand what you're saying. I mean, that's, I think if you're the SEC, man, I would bring in North Carolina. I would bring in Virginia. I'd bring in Clemson and Florida State. I think you got a little something there. But man, I just don't know at this point. I mean, are they willing to go and increase the conference size by 4? Is it going to be 6? They're bringing in 2 more now. It's fascinating.
Yes, because you see certain speculation out there that says that 16 is the sweet spot to cap this whole thing at. I say rubbish to that, because we all know where this is going in the near future, which is you're going to reclassify this level of college football. You're going to do it. It could be 32 teams, it could be 40 teams, it could be 48 or 64, whatever the number is. You got to find the people that are going to compete. But when you come to that table for whatever reorganization is coming, and that could be longer down, that could be 5
10,
years,
20 years down the road. Yeah.
The more assets you have in terms of giant brands, when you come to the table for that reorganization, the better deal you're going to get as an executive in the Big Ten. You know what I mean? Like, these are bargaining chips.
Yeah, agreed. But unless you think this is all going to burst, but you're saying relative to the pie, it doesn't matter if it bursts. Yeah, maybe the sums aren't astronomical that everybody gets moving forward, but they're still going to be more than some other entity, no matter how lessened that pie.
Yeah, this is the hard part that you're arguing, because, and I'm not saying you, it's just this is the hard part of the argument, which is, ESPN's about to lose a ton of money as cord cutting continues. Mm-hmm. The direct-to-consumer prices are going to have to be super high in order for them to offset. Like, we all know that that's coming. But if you're looking at the biggest sports in the United States of America, it's the NFL and college football. Yeah. Time not long ago was that it was the NFL, MLB, NBA, and then like hockey and college football, or maybe hockey was, or maybe the third professional sport was with college football. But it is like NFL, Grand Canyon, college football, 2 Grand Canyons, and then professional sports. So that's the argument here, is this is the second most valuable entity on live television in the country. How can there be a bubble bursting for that?
It's just a changing of how much everybody gets, we think. Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV. We're going to continue this discussion. It's fascinating. There are other facets of this that I want to touch on in a moment. Zaxby's. We're talking about Zaxby's, baby. Proud Golden Chief booster for over 18 years. More importantly, to your dining concerns, the food is delicious and readily available all throughout Tallahassee. 37 locations in the capital city in the state of Florida. Zaxby's is everywhere.
It's almost like they position themselves on a map with an idea towards Saturdays for football. So if you're coming into town, for example, and you want to support Zaxby's, but you follow Warchant TV or the show from Orlando or Tampa or Atlanta, if you think about it, Jeff, every exit that people come off of in I-10 when they arrive in town, there's a Zaxby's right there. As soon as you get off the exit, it's right there. Beautiful. So when you're tailgating on a Saturday, just stop on into the Zaxby's, go get you a platter, a bunch of sauces. Do you like the fries or the Texas toast? Why not both?
I'm a fries guy. I'm a fries guy. I don't mess with the Texas toast. Nothing wrong with it, but I don't want that filling up my belly with bread when I can have all these delicious fries, chicken. That's just me.
That's fair. They also have fried pickles too, if you want to throw a little curveball, and that's a side. That's not just this thing that you got to get you can get a side of fried pickles. So it's the way to be.
Can't beat Zaxby's. Once again, they support Florida State athletics as a Golden Chief and have done so for over 18 years. Go get you some Zaxby's, friends. The deliciousness. I want to clarify something here, just because I think we're kind of on the same page and maybe not on the same page. All I'm saying is look at the fan base's desperation to get out of this league is palpable. And you know that when a redundant piece of information like yesterday's observation from Chris, in some capacity, everybody covering the ACC or Florida State has already said Florida State wants out of the ACC. That is obviously true. We may argue about the details and the nuance of when it's going to happen, how it's going to happen, how much they want to spend, when is it they're going to announce, and who wants them, and all that other stuff. But everybody already knew Florida State wanted out of the ACC. And that, no offense to Chris, but everybody already knew that. So my point was that the second it gets brought up again, let me tell you something right now. If next week, or how about 2 weeks from now, I just decided to lead the show with, I can confirm that Michael Alford and Florida State's upper brass are behind the scenes every day attempting to walk from this conference, it would be headlines. It would be headlines. And for what? We already know it. But people are starved with this idea that maybe there was something different, something more tangible, something appreciably better than what they already knew, which is just that Florida State wants out. So, that's we all know this. It's going to generate huge numbers, whether it's Andy Staples, Jeff Cameron, Chris Nee, name anybody you want to name. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, look, let's peek behind the curtain with the conversations you and I had yesterday. We were thinking of doing an extra video on realignment dominoes for Florida State, and part of it was Colorado's departure.
Yes, we were waiting for a second in Oregon's situation.
Right, the Board of Trustees meeting for Oregon. We actually watched that. We tuned into it. It was a procedural thing because Dan Lanning was getting an extension,
correct,
and a bump, and they had to approve that. Then there were two other things about buildings or whatever that they needed to talk about. But you never know if they're going to go off script in a moment like that. Do something like Florida State did in their Board of Trustees meeting and have a presentation about the untenable nature of the Pac-12. Because if a sentence or two, that's all you need. If a sentence or two is uttered in a virtual Zoom meeting with the Board of Trustees, that means that they've had conversations that this needs to be on the record. We need to go on the record with this. It is at that point that you can say the Pac-12 is dead. And Oregon, because Oregon is willing to go to the floor publicly on public record and say that this is an untenable situation. Colorado is deeply replaceable, very replaceable for the Pac-12.
They've been useless for 20 plus years.
Dion or no Dion, they believe in their own circles that bringing in San Diego State, who's been in and out, putting their foot in and out of the pool of leaving the Mountain West, is reasonably and about equal. In terms of footing. The media market is more valuable than Colorado, but San Diego State, in terms of brand value overall, is about the same in terms of its monetary value to the Pac-12 for a TV deal. That's how bad Colorado has been as a brand. Big 12, open arms. Pac-12, get the hell out of here. But if Arizona State, Utah, Oregon, Washington, hell, if Stanford, if one of those teams leaves, man, then the Pac-12 is down to 8, and that thing's broken. And the moment that breaks, it's about, all right, the assets are now here to be spun off. Who picks them up? And that helps our process.
That's why we were waiting. That clarifies why we didn't do anything.
Well, we didn't because that Board of Trustees meeting didn't have anything. And Arizona might join the Big 12 tonight. They could be doing it right now. Who knows? Yeah. But you got to wait for it. You got to wait before it's legitimate. And that domino is much bigger than Colorado.
It seems likely Arizona State and Arizona will both go to the Big 12.
Yeah.
You're rooting for, we all are rooting for chaos in the Pac-12 because it seems that would be the first major domino to fall to another realignment session,
right?
For lack of a better term. It's interesting. I think the Big 12 at this point, I really like how aggressive the Big 12 is being. It's funny to me that a program like SMU is probably standing outside the Big 12's home office, jumping up and down like, little help, come on, here we are, guys. I'm dancing over here, whatever you need. But like they could add Connecticut. They could add, I mean, like really, seriously, just start grabbing assets.
I
Just
just
make, you know,
yeah, I like the idea of jump around playing. Jump around. There's just like, why is jump around blaring outside of all?
and
Oh,
there SMU is like,
it's
hey,
SMU. Come
yeah,
on,
let's go.
yeah.
We're ready. But like if you're the Big 12, you're going to try to get the best of the rest. You can't compete, let's say, with the Big 10 or the SEC for the major brands, but the next tier of brands actually provide some value. If you get Arizona State, which is somewhat of a brand, if you get Arizona, which whatever, but you get those two schools and you grab perhaps like we just said, well, they just grabbed Colorado. By the way, good for Colorado to go back. They were a good team, won a national championship in the Big Eight. Just like that's where they belong. That is those are their people. Get back to your people. That's a good place to be.
Yeah,
You never needed to be in the Pac-12. You can't be in the Big 10. You needed to be over there in the Big 12. So
yes, at the point they made this decision, I believe that they believe, all right, that Colorado believes that Arizona State are right behind them.
yes,
Because otherwise, the only team that you're playing in your neighborhood is BYU. And I think you probably want more events for your future conference home that doesn't require a supremely expensive charter or commercial flight.
big fun though. By the way, as a consumer, as a football fan, if we get back from all of this, like who wants to go where and position themselves for money, we know all this. This is the not fun stuff about college football. The fun stuff about college football are the unique differences from league to league, the geographical differences, the difference in tailgates and fan bases and traditions, these things that we love that are different from NFL football. NFL football we love for a different reason. It's the creme de la creme of players. It's the best of coaches. And it is an entirely different product, but it's sterile. It's sterile.
Yeah.
It is not college football, which is enriched by pageantry of university systems and alumni and boosters and fans. And what we're losing is a big part of that, which is why people are pissed. That said, if you're trying to find a place where you can sit down as a consumer, as a fan of college football and feel any sense of history whatsoever, you want a different look for each conference. Like the Big Ten, it's weird that the Big Ten went out and got USC and UCLA, but they're not. If the Big Ten was suddenly Florida State, Clemson, Miami, Virginia, North Carolina, UCLA, that's weird. It's just like I'm not saying no. I'm not saying don't go if that's the offer. I'm saying it's just weird. Whereas it would make more sense if the SEC said, "Oh, well, we're expanding our footprint and we're going to grab Florida State, Miami, North Carolina, Clemson," and okay, well, that's in their footprint. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So if you look at the Big 12. It's cool to grab Colorado. It makes sense to grab Arizona and Arizona. I like that. When I sit down, it will have a feel, and it will feel geographically like that makes sense.
Yeah, I think so. With the SEC and Florida State, really quickly, the moment that Texas and Oklahoma were welcomed in the back door of Texas A&M, SEC member, and LSU to a degree, maybe even Arkansas, the gloves are off when it comes to the votes within conference members.
Yes, of course.
You're going to water down everybody's recruiting footprint at that point. Florida has no leg to stand on. Neither does Georgia about bringing in a school like Florida State. South Carolina has no leg to stand on. Merit probably as well. But to say that no to Clemson, the moment that you allow that to happen on the western front of your conference,
yes,
it most certainly is going to happen in the southeastern corner of your conference. So
yeah, the vote thing that was always in place, which is if you come with us, we'll never turn our back on you by bringing in your in-state rival. Well, they turned their back on them and they screwed Texas A&M, and A&M's got to be furious. And I got you. I'm not worried about the vote. I'm not worried about that. I just want to know, how soon do they want to expand? When is that on the horizon? When is that a possibility? Is it this upcoming year? Is it the next year? Your belief, Tom, is that, and this is what everybody's hoping for, I'm not saying it's wrong. The thought is that if we watch the demise of the Pac-12, it opens the door to expediting the process for the SEC and the Big Ten. Yeah, and that's all you're hoping for.
Yeah, and it's a critical 2.5 week period here to get to August 15th. And this Pac-12 situation was supposed to be settled long ago. The TV deal. This was, back in May, many people out in the West Coast thought this deal would be done. We're on the precipice of August, and there still is no deal. In a sense, that's good news, but also in a sense, when you have an August 15th deadline, now we're getting up against it. It's almost like the grander Daryl Jackson waiver situation. You know, this is a much more important one where you feel that pinch point of the opener against LSU coming, and you're saying, do we have him or do we not have him? What the hell, guys? What gives? I feel that way about the Pac-12 situation because the moment that baby implodes, you know, we have precious little time and urgency factors to help usher us before August 15th to make a decision. It's just that's the urgency that I feel right now, and maybe that's why reports are circulating. But I mean, Jesus, guys, it's not new. Florida State is going to leave the ACC. It's a matter of time. It's a matter of time.
Yeah, it is a matter of time, but time is of the essence. So
correct.
This is why it matters. Like, I get it. I'll say openly to you, regardless of offers or any sort of, you know, look into the future. Yeah, Florida State wants to leave and is going to leave the ACC. When? That's all anybody wants to know. When? We're not arguing whether they're going to leave. They're going to leave. When? Well, and the reason we know they're going to leave is they already said this is untenable.
Well, but that's where, to the beginning of this segment, it's like, they're going to leave? Wait, what? Like, yes.
Yes, right.
God dog it, everybody. Yeah.
What
are we doing here?
Well, the machinations within that revelation are, do they have a spot? Have they been offered a spot? How much money is it going to cost? When is it going to happen? Yeah. These are the degrees to which the argument takes place, not the if. It's the when, how, who, money. That's what that is.
Yep.
I want to talk about Daryl Jackson's waiver. Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV. Hey, guys, our next partner is AG1, the daily foundational nutritional supplement that supports whole body health. I drink it quite literally every single day. I began using AG1 because, I'll be honest with you, I don't like to take a bunch of pills and vitamins, and I just wanted something that tastes great, was quick, and easy to remember. So I do it. I do it every morning when I wake up. I certainly have it right after my coffee and before I work out. And I will tell you this, too. It is a simple, effective investment for your health. You can try AG1 and get 5 free AG1 travel packs and a free 1-year supply of vitamin D with your first purchase. Go to drinkag1.com/JCS. Again, that's all you got to do is go to drinkag1.com/JCS. That's drinkag1.com/JCS. Check it out. It's delicious. It's quick. It's easy. It's proven. Vitamins, probiotics, whole food source nutrients. Start your day with it. You'll feel better. I promise. So up in Charlotte, Mike reacted to a question about Daryl Jackson's waiver, in which he said he checks it every day. It's like the first order of business. I'm paraphrasing. Starting to get a feel that may not happen, man. I just want to say that now. I'm starting to get a feel. I've said something akin to this on the air before, that I was a little concerned, and I was growing more concerned. There seemed to be a sense that, you know, like maybe the first time this came through or was ruled upon, it didn't go our way, and that there's an appeal. And it's couched as that's normal. It can happen that way. And that's true. It can. Sometimes it's just procedural. Sometimes it's just a matter of going through the motions of, this is the order of things. They can't get to it right now. It's declined. They need to look at more information. We're going to circle back to this sort of thing. And maybe that's what's going on. And perhaps it gets cleared. My concern is that this seemed to be a no-brainer. If you're dealing with a player, and I'm not telling you how I would rule on this, I'm telling you that from the perspective of, would this get cleared sooner rather than later, it seemed to be a no-brainer. Because in this era, first of all, kids transfer willy-nilly all the time, and they get approved for that. They could have a grievance. They didn't like their last location. A coach was mean to them. Some fan said something to them that is questionable, whatever it might be. And they cite that, and the NCAA is just like, yeah, man, we're not going to stand in the way. And that was kind of on the heels of all the stuff that happened with COVID and any number of other things, right? So the fact that it's taken this long is disconcerting, because in this era, it doesn't usually take that long. Player movement is kind of widely accepted. Secondly, it's especially true if that player cites a reason that has to do with family illness, especially. They want to be closer to home because there's a family member that they want to be near who's ill. And that's what Daryl Jackson said. So you're talking about a guy that went from Maryland to Miami and then Florida State. That's a lot of moving around. And it seemed to me the only way that it would get approved is if, in fact, it was for those concerns regarding family. Well, why do I bring this up? Okay. That is a no-brainer if that is the reason. If the reason you chose Florida State was because you wanted to be closer to your mom who is dealing with an illness, everybody universally understands that that needs to be approved. It should take a millisecond. Oh, this is different, guys. This is different. We're gonna approve this. My suspicion is that they don't believe that to be true. And where do I get that from? Well, unfortunately, the player in this situation did not, in my opinion, help his cause to further that reasoning. Meaning, when Joshua Farmer was going through whatever he was going through and tempted to perhaps leave this program for a better deal and see what else was out there, as we all worried about after it was announced that he was going to leave, and then he reversed course. He changed his opinion. He decided to stay. In that little window where that was going on Daryl Jackson's social media, he inferred as much as to say he was leaving with him, that he would just go. Well, man, that's a problem because you've said that the reason you came here was for a family member. Now, if all of a sudden your best friend decides he wants to leave and you tell the world that, or you infer that you'd go with him, maybe you aren't here for the reason that you said. I don't know the answer. I'm not calling him a liar. I'm not saying he did or he didn't. I'm saying that's what it looks like. You want to add something else to the mix to make yourself concerned about this situation? Stan Wilcox. So think about all of the things at play here, and it's easy to see why Florida State fans are wringing their hands. I'm beginning to wring my hands. It may very well be that Florida State hears back from the NCAA and he gets the waiver that we're hoping he gets. But I think, and this is all I'm saying, there's very real reasons to be concerned that it's not going to happen. And that's what I just laid bare. The reasons that I think it may not happen. That ain't good. That guy potentially changes your football team. You are a really good football team with or without him. You could be, especially if he's motivated, a very, very good football team that wins the conference and goes to the college football playoff because you're too deep, too strong, right up the gut, and teams have yet another very difficult matchup situation when he's in the game and he's motivated. He can be, as according to Mike Norvell, a game changer. And I agree with that. I've seen him in practice. When he's motivated, they can't block him. They can't block him. So hold your breath here, guys. That's all. I was really sure prior to all that stuff over the summer that this was going to be a no-brainer. I'm not so sure this is a no-brainer now. That's all I'm getting at.
So your options at that point, don't want to go down this road, hopefully in reality, but your options at that point are that Dennis Briggs, who I skip over a lot when I talk about the defensive interior rotation, because I think he's much more of an early down edge setter on the edge. Well, that stands to reason that's redundant, but you know what I mean, at defensive end.
Yeah.
First and second down. Does Patrick Payton really need to be out there if you've got Jared Verse on the other side? Or would it be more valuable if you save Patrick Payton's bullets for third and obvious or in situations when you need to go get the ball and make a splash play? Not to say that he's incapable, but Dennis Briggs over there on the other side really solidifies your defense against the run if you have a Daryl Jackson and a Fabian Lovett up the middle and a Braden Fisk rotating in and out. But now, if that's the case, you would be looking at Fabian Lovett, Braden Fisk, who's gotten rave reviews. Actually, that was another storyline from the kickoff that was reassuring. Jared Verse couldn't have spoken more highly of Braden Fisk's work ethic and athleticism ability. Josh Farmer, Dennis Briggs now is going to be leaning a lot more on, I think, as a pure defensive tackle, which means that you're strained a little bit with Patrick Payton and Gilbert Edmond. They're going to have to hold down end a little bit more. And then Ayo Tafasi, Daniel Lyons. It's not bad. That's not a bad
at
situation.
all. It's actually good, Tom. It's good.
Yeah, correct.
It's great with Daryl Jackson if he plays and plays hard. It's great.
Yeah.
And
100%.
Again, it may happen. I know how this works. I've been doing this a long time. What I just said will be parsed by people, and they'll hear what they want to hear. They're gonna go online and say, Jeff said he's not getting his waiver. I said he may not get his waiver, and I can see the evidence for it. And I'm nervous about it now. but he may also get his waiver. He might. Because, listen, there's a lot of other aspects of this, Tom, things we can't know that the university can't talk about. I mean, it wouldn't be, it seems to me, unusual for the university, perhaps beginning to get as concerned as I am about this process, to float that if this waiver isn't approved, there's a lawsuit. Because look, man, unless you can prove he didn't come here for his mother, you're going to deny this to this kid in this situation, and they're going to say, well, we can because we know he didn't. Well, you don't know it. Let's figure this out in court. NCAA want any of that? Probably not.
Right.
This becomes a game of chicken. It becomes a power play. Both sides aren't in love with each other. They're going to make it really uncomfortable. I can see all of this at play.
I could also see no harm, no foul if we've got Carolina blue on our